promise to help me out. You've just made my life a lot more difficult.
I have helped you out. I mean, this is very good advice, Joe.
I will follow that advice. Hey, let's talk about what's going on in Congress. It has been remarkable over the past couple of days to see Republicans finally talking to the president, saying enough is enough. And you're actually talking about moving and trying to pass a bill not to deauthorize what happened in 2002, but actually to sunset it. Say, okay, we authorized the use of force in 2002. You've had your chance. Enough's enough. How's that moving forward?
Well, Joe, on both counts, I think it is promising that finally Republicans have gone to the president to tell him what the entire country knows, which is he has to change course in Iraq. And the House last night passed another effort to try to rein the president in by saying, look, we're going to fund the troops for a limited period of time, but you got to come back to us and give us more than you've given us up until now. I think we're going to go back and forth on this for a while longer, trying to see how much we can get the president on board to start bringing the troops home while we fund those who remain in Iraq. What Senator Byrd and I have suggested is, no matter what you thought about the original authorization or the president's decision to, rush to war before the inspectors were able to tell us whether there was any WMD, it is clear that whatever the mission used to be is either accomplished or over. Saddam Hussein is gone. The Iraqis have been given a chance, thanks to the sacrifice of, our young men and women, to have a better future for themselves. And this is up to them now. And if there are remaining American interests, then let's spell them out so that there is no misunderstanding between the Congress, the President, and the American people as to why, if we leave anybody in Iraq, we have a vital national security interest there.
We're talking to Senator Hillary Clinton, who, Senator, I think you just blew your opponents away in the last debate. I'm not kissing up to you at all. Those who know me know that I certainly don't do that. But you had a very solid debate performance back in South Carolina about a week and a half ago. And one of the issues, obviously, that's come up is Iraq. But another issue a lot of people are talking about has to do with health care. And obviously, you were on the forefront of that back in 1993. How big do you think that issue is going to play in the 2008 election?
I think it's going to be one of the most important issues, right up there with Iraq in terms of our domestic challenges. And I believe finally we're going to have a sensible debate about it. With all of the business leaders who I've been speaking to and who've been publicly announcing their support for reforms in our healthcare system, trying to get everybody into it, control costs, get better value for the money we already spend. There is a growing momentum that is bringing a lot of different stakeholders to this debate. So it's not going to be just within the political arena. We're going to have a lot of support from business and labor and obviously doctors, nurses, hospital administrators, people who are on the front lines. I really believe, too, that the whole extent of the problems in our healthcare system are becoming clear to people. It's not only the fact that we've got nearly 47 million uninsured people, but so many millions more are essentially uninsured because even though they have an insurance policy, when they really need it, the insurance company says, just kidding. We're not going to give your doctor permission to perform that procedure.
Well, and that's hitting everybody. It's so funny, Senator. But, not so funny. It's unfortunate. But when you hire people these days, and when I've tried to hire some people to come on and work with me, and so few people want to do that anyway. We have Willie Geis here because he's been unemployed for so long. But it used to be the first question people would ask you had to do with salary. Now, anybody that has a family, always the first question they ask me has to do with health care. And we have not really had this debate over the past several years on issues that matter to me. Like, for instance, I've got a child that's got Asperger's. I am sure that it was connected to vaccines back in the 1980s, but there are a lot of issues dealing even with child health care that just haven't been addressed, that obviously impact Republicans, Democrats.
Absolutely. Joe, one of the things that I've worked on for a long time is how we, number one, figure out what we're supposed to do to treat kids, because kids are not just miniature adults. They have different physical and psychological needs. You might have seen a big story recently about drug companies pushing all these drugs on kids, and we don't do adequate testing. I passed the first laws back in the Clinton administration, and then now that I've been in the Senate, we just reauthorized requirements that we've got to start testing things to see whether they're safe for kids and what dosage you really need. You don't just say, oh, okay, here's the adult dosage of, say 40 milligrams. Let's just cut it in half because the kid is about, half the size. That's just not the way to do this. And the other problem is we know there are environmental effects. I mean, whether, as you suggest, perhaps a vaccine or some other exposures that interact with the genetic makeup of kids. This is all a new frontier. But if you look at what the incentives in our health system are, it's really not to, zero in on the prevention and look at the entire, holistic picture. We are set up to treat people once they're already sick. And this is just not sensible anymore.
It's insane. It's false. You have a diabetic that cannot get the insurance company to give them money for treatment, and yet the same insurance company will pay when they go back to the hospital to get a leg amputated. And it is so short-sighted. We've been engaging in false economy for so long, and it's problematic. You talk about new frontiers. Obviously, you running as a female for the presidency, it scares a lot of people like Willie Geist. Me, I'm hip to it. I'm open-minded. As you know, I'm Uniter, not Divided. But Courtney Hazlett brought up something interesting. Yesterday, we had Joe Klein on, who said he thought you were doing very well, had a great performance in the debate, said you've done a remarkable job as a senator, and he pointed to the fact that you've had the same hairstyle now for 6 years, which means that you're comfortable finally in your own skin. Courtney immediately was offended, said it was misogynistic. Of course, Fox News says you're wearing bright colors and smiling more, and that's how
that's increasing your likability.
Yeah, increasing your
exactly.
likability, of course, which is the same thing that they always said about me. Do you think you're going to have to deal with this throughout the entire campaign?
As I recall, when you went from your congressional career to TV, there were a few physical changes.
There were.
It is funny though, because when I think about the ongoing saga of my hair, which I have people bring pictures up to me when I'm traveling around the country and ask me to sign it, and I can tell it's like an archaeological dig.
It is.
But it is. I'm having a great time. This is a fabulous campaign. I'm getting just a tremendous response around the country. But I really think it's in large measure because people are so anxious to turn the page.
Right.
I don't know it doesn't matter whether you're Democrats, Republicans, Independents, or don't even care about politics. Everybody knows we've got to do better. That we're off course, and we need to have a kind of sensible center where people come together, roll up our sleeves, and say, look, we're better than this. We can solve these problems. Let's get over this whiff of fatalism. We can't deal with, global climate change. We can't change our economy over time from being so carbon-based. We can't do these things. That is not the way I was raised. I was raised to believe that if we put our minds to it, as Americans, we could do anything we decided to do. And we need both new leadership, but we also need everybody kind of pulling together and saying, okay, what am I going to do as a small business owner, as a homemaker, as a teacher, as a nurse, as a doctor, whatever our